Here we are again, doing quest number 17, which is Lost City. I spent a little bit of time getting the 2 requirements that I need for this, as well as throwing as much into Herbal as possible for Hero's Quest. It's going to take a little bit more than what I have. I kind of ran out of herbs that I could use, and if I'm going to be grinding for herbs, I kind of want to be grinding for herbs for something that I have easier access to. So I'll do that in a little bit. I have some other grinds coming up for heroes as well, so I'll tackle all of that at the same time. But back to the matter at hand. We have this little group of adventurers, and they are looking for something. So a interesting little note is you can talk to everyone here, but they stonewall you because they all have enough common sense to not tell this random person who walked up to them in the middle of the swamp asking them what they were doing about why they're in the middle of the swamp. Instead, the warrior, who has been hit on the head a few too many times, kind of just straight up tells us that they're looking for Zanaris. And we're just gonna kind of lead him along a little bit. Just kind of gently just kind of trick him into telling us what they know, so that we can just kind of completely supplement their entire quest and find the Lost City ourselves and completely steal all glory that they could possibly have. So now he's revealed that it's a leprechaun hiding in a tree and they just don't know which one it is. Now, this is the tricky part of the quest because I never remember which tree it is. Mostly because it's a different tree between each version. I think it's this one? No. It's this one. And in a pinnacle of appropriateness, our leprechaun's name is Seamus, and he's nice enough to teleport us to the right place. Mostly to get rid of us. So hopefully, nothing that So in Trena, you can't bring pretty much you can't bring anything that has combat stats. I'm not bringing anything with combat stats. I'm bringing some logs and some cloth and some air runes and some thread and some food. So one of the nice things in RS3 is because we have a tool belt, and tool belt doesn't count as equipment, and thus isn't searched, we can just bring our axe normally, and makes things significantly easier. I'm just gonna casually run past here. Bonk. There we go. And this will take a hot minute because we're using extremely low level equipment and no armor. So we'll have a good time. So yeah, having defeated the spirit who's literally just defending where she lives, we're now gonna chop her home. Now, I never quite remember exactly how many of these that I need, but I'm fairly certain that I need at least 2 and possibly 3. So I'm gonna get 3, and then we're just gonna go back to Lumbridge. And we finish out the quest by just wield the staff, and then we go in, and quest complete. This fucking kid. Quest number 18 on our list is Witch's House. Probably one of my most conceptually disliked quests. It's not that I don't like this quest mechanically. I think it's perfectly fine. It introduces some mechanics that show up later in the game, like the idea of line of sight. Right? You see this in the you see this in a couple of later quests. You see this in the Sorceress's Garden minigame. It's mostly, this kid is a fucking asshole. Like, this little twerp is like fucking playing with his ball, kicks it over this fence of this lady's house, and now he's upset that she took it. And is essentially conscripting us to break into what, from all external opinion, is an entirely innocent woman's house to steal back the ball instead of, you know, talking to her like a reasonable person would. I'm just like, no, we're just gonna break in. We're gonna break in. We're gonna look under the potted plant, which, by the way, don't hide your keys under things like that. If you're gonna hide a spare key outside of your house, hide it somewhere unique. Like, the key's not physically attached to that location. You can move it around. Like, fucking hide it in, like, one of those boxes and put it up in, like, a drain spout or something. But yeah, so we're gonna break into this woman's house. We're gonna take some cheese. We're gonna just ruffle through her diary. We find out that this is not the first time he's kicked this ball over that fence. And she's been amicable in the past and given it back. And this is just kind of the last straw. Like I said, this kid is a fucking asshole. But it's a quest and we must do it. So we go down into the basement and get this magnet that we can then put on the back of a mouse that we've lured out with the cheese that we picked up earlier. And with that, it will let us into the garden to do the next part of the quest, which is the aforementioned stay out of line of sight. And now we have to go all the way along the other side to get the key out of the fountain, and then open up the shed, because this lady, instead of, you know, having sensible things like keeping her keys on her person, she hides them in weird random places, because that makes more sense. Alright. And now we open the door. And we take the ball. Oh, no. The experiment doesn't want to give us the ball. So we are reluctantly forced to murder. Now, you sort of notice in this instance of it, unlike the old school version, there's a safe spot over here. There's no safe spot here. So trying to do this quest on a fresh account is much more difficult because you have to be able to tank all 4 forms. Luckily, this is not too difficult. We're rather over-leveled for this quest, which is not unexpected. I don't actually even think I'll be using any food. And now we take the ball. And there we go. We give him back his ball for him to fucking throw it over the fence yet again because he's a fucking asshole kid. So yeah, that's Witch's house. Fuck that kid. Camelot. Camelot. Camelot! Just a silly place. And is also the location of the 19th quest in our list, Merlin's Crystal. So, we find these guys. We want to be a Knight of the Round Table because that sounds cool. So, our good buddy King Arthur here sends us on a quest. And the quest is rescue Merlin because Merlin has gotten stuck. This is also kind of a interesting little thing of, this isn't like, oh, it's the same kind of thing as the Arthurian legend, all of that. It's literally King Arthur and Merlin and his knights of the Round Table just got transported to Gielinor somehow, and nobody knows how or why, and it's been referenced a few times. But yeah, we basically have to go and talk to all of these knights because every single one of them knows basically only one piece of information, and unfortunately most of these knights are kind of useless. So, the only lead that we have so far is that it may be the evil Morgan Le Fay, who also got transported here and is holed up in a keep that's right over there. It's like, they can shout at each other. That's how close it is. And we're gonna beat the shit out of this nerd by kicking him in the dick. And his mom shows up to stop us from killing her kid, which is an understandable response, but we kind of hang that over her head to get the information that we want. Which, when you put it like that, doesn't make us look like the best sort of people, but what do you expect at this point? We have done many crime. But she gives us a list of things that we need, and we have to now go and get it, and then we do a spell, and then we break the crystal. So yeah, good times. So the first thing that we go and get is magic words from one of the Chaos Altars, which happens to be this one. The next thing we need to get is Excalibur. The Lady of the Lake knows where it is. She gives us a test of, we basically have to go to Port Sarum and go into this shop, and on the way we get a beggar who asks for bread, which, well, we certainly give bread to, because why not? And, well, guess what? That was the entirety of the test. Give a random guy bread, get a sword. The last things we need is a black candle, which this guy is very distraught about existing because apparently it's bad luck or something. As well as a bat bone, which we could have very easily gotten when we left the keep the first time, but we didn't because we didn't plan this route very well. So we'll go get the bat bone and then grab some wax from the beehives. And then we end up with the candle. So we go say some magic words that we found under the altar, summon this ghost dude, assuming that we do it correctly, in which he then enchants Excalibur for us, and then we can go and break the crystal, and, well, that's the quest. Rejoice, Merlin is now freed. Doot 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 doot. Up next, our next to last sequence break of this series is Mists of the White Lands. Came out in 2008. It's the other one of the quests that inherited wayward quest points from Sheep Shearer and Witch's Potion. Talk to Explorer Jack. He's a very enthusiastic chap. Kind of blathers on about things, and basically he wants us to go get some rocks. Let's go talk to a wizard, get teleported to a land of ice and snow to retrieve some rocks for a guy who can't be bothered to retrieve the rocks himself, despite knowing all of the necessary information to, well, retrieve said rocks.
Very well then, ecco sop licendo.
And off we go. And now we get to withstand an entire new world of bullshit. Get used to it. And then we go rar. And then we scare a Yeti and then he faints. Yeah, we picked up stones. Suspicious. Very suspicious stones. So yeah, the enchanted poop. But yeah, surprise, it's a motherfucking poop quest. So now we've had a puke quest, and now a poop quest. Both involving imps. Which I think is just a coincidence at this point. I could tell him the truth, or I could just... or not. Let's not. Ta-da! Alright, so our final sequence break of the series is Shadow over Ashdale. Jagex has several times decided to remake or redo the new player experience from the original tutorial island from 2002. Even in Old School, it has been tweaked and given some more detail that wasn't in the original version, things like information about social features and account security and whatnot. I find looking at and exploring new player experiences to be an interesting part of game design, as it's something that is only a delivery method once, but all players interact with, and especially in a game like RuneScape where new accounts for alts are common, you tend to have to interact with it fairly frequently. Additionally, as its value is the clarity of information to a brand new player, it's very difficult to internally test new variations accurately, as you rapidly run out of brand new people to give feedback, and your external target audience are people who don't know about your game yet. Ashdale was a replacement for Tutorial Island that ran from 2013 to 2018, where Tutorial Island was then returned and serves as a double new player starting experience alongside the Birth Orb starting tasks. Shadow over Ashdale serves as a sort of follow-up to that tutorial where you revisit Ashdale and find it in, well, You'll see. But in terms of just looking at a quest, it's a nice little quest. Like I said back with Demon Slayer, they started doing this thing where Novice Quest combat would start scaling. So if you go and do the quest at a fresh account, it would be appropriate difficulty, and if you come in with a maxed account, it would be appropriate difficulty. Obviously, this is sort of a just basic scaling and not very complicated, but it works well enough. And this is an example of this where there is a boss that will scale with your combat level and give you rewards based off of the combat level. So we take a boat over, and it's appropriately atmospheric and spooky. We got some rain effects going on that just kind of end halfway down the pier, but whatever, that's fine. And we set out to find someone who lives here, so maybe we can find out what's going on. We find this lady who's scared out of her mind and hiding under a table. And she tells us that there's monsters and that because of the barricades we have to go through the sewers, which are conveniently located behind her house. Traversing through here, we get this little cutscene where we are shown one of the monsters that we will have to fight quite a lot of. Kind of jumps out of the roof. And then we beat it up. Because, of course we do. We are a hero. And we beat it up by kicking it in the dick. Because that is the way. Once we get through, past the barricades, past the sewer, we find the lighthouse and discover this nice little set of stairs that leads down into the caves beneath. We get lore along the way as well. We sort of learn a bit of the history of the island. We find some more down here, where we find some smugglers that kind of reveal that they woke these things up. And that basically caused all the problems. Pass a very snazzy water-locked door that is a puzzle in the most simplest form of fix the thing and then open it. And on we go. We start seeing more and more of these creatures as we go through. We have to keep fighting them. We're seeing these weird egg pods that have villagers in them. And we sort of work our way through these caves, opening up these little gates as we kill off all the enemies in our path, until we finally get to the smuggler's ship, which has been infested by, well, Mommy. Which gives us a boss fight, and a proper boss fight at that. As in, like, there's mechanics. We have to dodge the water spray. You have to dodge tentacles. It's not the most complicated thing around. This is not like Croesus or Karabakh or anyone like that, where there's a lot of mechanics you have to coordinate. It's really sort of a basic boss fight, but as an introductory / solo boss, this is not a particularly bad quest boss. And we just win. And having saved the day and killed the horrible monster that has gotten itself lodged in the ship, the villagers are saved, and they are very happy about it. Yay. And that's it. That's the quest. It's It's a nice quest. I like it narratively more than functionally. And we get a lodestone that we probably will never use, but that's okay. It's still a lodestone, it's still an unlock, and we can go back and fight that boss every week. So, as part of my prep for doing Hero's Quest, I came up here to the Rogue's Castle, very snazzy, to try and get a lockpick, because this is the only thing that drops lockpicks that I have access to at this point. And all of this is so that I can do the solo route. As could be alluded by my rather impressive stack of clue scrolls, I've not gotten one yet. When this inventory fills up, I'm just gonna throw in the towel and I'm just gonna do the quest on with the 2-person variety, because that still exists. It's still a valid method of doing the quest. It's just you're not locked to a specific gang anymore. So what I probably will do is I'll probably just get on one of my other accounts and do it that way if I don't get it. But yeah, I've been at this pretty much all day. Alright, quest number 22 is Hero's Quest. I've been rather busy getting all of the requirements. We talked to the lady in front of the Heroes Guild, which granted looks very unimpressive considering how Berthorpe has been built out. Although they do have a pretty bomb-ass basement, so we basically have to go and get a Master Thief's armband, a Firebird feather, and then a cooked lava eel, which is always very weird of just the idea of you have to get a Master Thief's armband, which is something you get from doing a crime. I think I've done more damage by reflecting and bleed than anything else. I keep missing. So yeah, we beat her up, take her gloves. This will allow us to get the feather. And since there's only one of these wandering around, presumably it is a rare bird. Now, I'm very cleverly, just on another one of my accounts that has done this quest. This account did it much later and thus did it with the picklocking solo method. Easy peasy. Only need one of them, but it still gives you 2, no matter if you do solo or not. And we have, with the assistance of a alternate reality version of ourselves, we have completed yet another crime. Cook the lava eels. Succeed. 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 So I was, concerned about nothing. I have all of the things. Ta-da! We get a shitload of lamps and a quest point, and access to the Heroes Guild, which gives us access to charged Dragonstone jewelry, which is very handy. So yeah, I'm gonna spend the next year and a half clicking on all of these lamps. And then I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.